Action from the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers continues on beIN Sports. Don't forget Ivory Coast against Guinea immediately following this one, plus Senegal will be in action. We'll also have Mali Gabon available on beIN Sports Connect. Our Ford Express continues.
Group winners going through, the three best runners up plus Cameroon. Well, Nigeria's last win in the tournament came in South Africa in 2013. Tunisian referee Youssef Esrairi gets us underway for this second period. Can either side break the deadlock? I'll just stay with us and find out. Nigeria having pretty much 2/3 of the possession in that opening half, but unable to do anything very concrete with it. Moses and Iheanacho, and in particular Etebo, all missing half chances. In fact, I'd make Etebo's a little bit more than a half chance. Iheanacho, the Manchester City striker, feeding him early on, and the pass, perhaps to be fair to Etebo, slightly overhit, and he could only prod a left foot effort off balance wide of the target. And of course Tembazwane at the other end, coming so close to opening the scoring, hitting the post. Should have scored, but of course it was Daniel Akpeyi dropping the ball almost at his feet. I think that the South African midfielder was almost too surprised and rather snatched at that effort. Nonetheless, that was perhaps a salutary lesson for the Nigerians. Hadn't been under much pressure from the outset, and then suddenly, just before the break, the width of a goal frame from going behind. Thread the ball through there. Abdullahi with Moses lurking. Well, looking back over the years of this tournament, the 60s largely belonged to Ghana. A couple of wins followed by a couple of final losses across the decade. And then in the 1970s, well, had 6 different winners, including Nigeria, also Ghana, Morocco, the old Zaire, Congo, Brazzaville and Sudan. Nigeria want their 4th crown. Corner is deep and headed away. Etebo's corner headed away there by Sibusiso. '80s, well, that saw Cameroon starting to dominate after Nigeria had won in 1980. on home soil. They followed a win for Ghana, then Cameroon, then Egypt, Cameroon again. And of course, Cameroon, the current holders. Nigeria, South Africa, unable to get through the qualifiers last time out. Looking back from Cameroon earlier this year, Ivory Coast winning it 2 years ago on penalties against Ghana. Nigeria before that in South Africa. Zambia, shock win, coming in Equatorial Guinea in 2012. And before that, an Egyptian treble, 2010, 2008, 2006. Pharaohs, of course, the most successful side in the competition's history. Well, 5 minutes into the second half here in Uyo, in the deep south of Nigeria. Capital of an oil-producing state. But nobody's struck footballing oil so far. Still a stalemate. Nigeria just happy to sit with a high line in the early stages of this second half, and the Nigerians really not managing to dig deep and find the top of their game. A fairly unimaginative showing from the hosts so far, to be honest. South Africa have a trio of replacements already warming up. Stuart Baxter perhaps sending out a message that he has a couple of ideas in reserve. English-born manager, of course, brought back for a second spell in charge in April. Free kick now for the foul. Very quickly, but well, Alderson goes tumbling over his own feet. South Africa bring it away. Skipper Eddie Ogeni Onazi will set things going again, but the ball cleared by Tibogo. Tibogo's cross, of course, fine cross as well. After a great run down the left, from his cross that Thembazwane so nearly put the South Africans into the lead. Now they have a man over here, the number 6, Ramalwe. Oh, and it's a goal! Well, almost from nowhere. Well, the South Africans taking the lead, and it's Tokelo, the Turkish-based Tokelo, who gives Bafana Bafana the lead, and their contingent here just waited, in a fine header. Well, it was Thembazwane who sent the ball out to Ramalwe Mafalele on the right, And he just delayed the cross just for a moment and then floated it up. And the header from Tokelo has South Africa into the lead. And that's exactly what this game needed. It's been such a cagey affair so far. But with 9 minutes gone in this second period, Tokelo Rantier scores for South Africa, and they lead 1-0. Well, the Bafana said they came here, Baxter saying that they wanted to put right this poor run that they've had. No wins in a dozen competitive matches against the Nigerians. He said they would come here without fear. And also knowing only too well that it was only 4 years ago that they lost out on home soil. It was Nigeria who went on to win that tournament in South Africa. Both sides have had a pretty lean spell in the time that's elapsed. But here, South Africa lead. And now the pressure is all on the Nigerians. Well, a fine header that was from Tokelo Rantier. And just what this game needed. Well, Elderson is back on his feet. .11 gone in the second half. Nigeria 0, South Africa 1. In the Africa Cup of Nations qualifying Group E. Now, well, that was well cut out. It was a fine run by Moses. He'll go again down the left. Got two men on him. And, well, ended up as a rather squash meat in the sandwich there. Bongani and Kagan, I think the men were on him. Bongani obstructing him in the final analysis. Down he went. So free kick out on the left for Nigeria, level with the penalty area. It's Edebo who will take it. Floated in. And it'll be a corner to the Nigerians. Edebo goes over to take it. Well, the complexion of the game has changed now. Nigeria now chasing the game. Oh. Wilfred Ndidi climbed high, but the header had no direction. Harmlessly drifts out. For a goal kick to South Africa. The Nigerians make a change. The number 18 is coming off. Alex Iwobi. And the man coming on is the number 7, Ahmed Musa. Had a rather unhappy time of it at Leicester last season. Can he find some form for the Super Eagles, who are having their wings clipped quite considerably so far, not least after that goal from Tokolo Rantier. Table sends it out wide on the right to the substitute Musa. His attempted cross is blocked out for a corner. The Leicester man will go and take it. Nigerians now will have to step up their game quite considerably. Elsewhere, hearing that Sierra Leone are leading Kenya. It's the latest. Well, that goal from Rantier really giving the game a shot in the arm for the neutral. And indeed, for South Africans watching wherever they may be. And, well, surely offside. Wilfred Ndidi racing in, but flag is up. Indeed, very clearly the offside trap working there for South Africa. South Africa managing to hold their lines quite admirably so far. Still feel that they should be put under far greater pressure. The Nigerians just seemingly regarding this match as just another game. They lose this one, the path to the finals once again might prove to be beyond them. Stuart Baxter's side leading Gernot Rohr's Nigeria by a goal to nil. We've passed the hour mark and the pressure is mounting on the hosts, who have failed to create anything really very clear cut, certainly in this second half. And their attacking dominance was somewhat partial in the opening period also. So Musa, the substitute, sent that towards his fellow Leicester man Ndidi, who was unable to get the header in. Well, that was a little bit more inventive from Moses. Who else? But really needed to bend that one back to the edge of the 6-yard box, really, if he wasn't going to go for goal himself. Nigeria really rather shell-shocked by the goal from Rantier. 9 minutes into the second half now. The South Africans make a change. The man going off is the number 10, Sibusiso. The man coming on, number 9, Cape Town City striker Lebogang Manyama. A striker for a striker. So the South Africans clearly not ready to put up shop just yet. Now then, for the footballing historians among you, the first ever International Association football match was Scotland against England, as I'm sure you all know, back in 1872. The old enemy are playing again this afternoon. That one is 0-0. World Cup qualifying Group F. An hour or so gone in that one. Of course, sitting fairly pretty in their group. We've got a case of the old and the new. I'll just break up for a moment. There's a shot from distance. Well, it was worth a crack from Tibogo. The old and the new. England, of course, their last title, famously back in 1966 in the World Cup, have a chance to lift a world title tomorrow at under 20 level in South Korea, and taking on a new force in the shape of Venezuela. Venezuela, it's a glimmer of hope for a country struggling at the moment with political unrest, but I saw them 6 years ago now at a Copa America. They were quite impressive, and they'd come from nowhere to give the likes of Brazil a game in the Latin American Championship, Latin American equivalent of the CAN, of course, or African Nations Cup. So that's tomorrow, England, Venezuela. England, Scotland 0-0, World Cup qualifier this afternoon. Here it is the Cup of Nations Group E qualifier, match day 1, and Nigeria are struggling and the fans are growing restless in Uyo. They have now just gone past the midway point of this second half, and they trail South Africa on home soil by a 0-0. Tokelo Rantier scoring 9 minutes after the break with a close range header. Well worked move. South Africa on the break, and this play through. Oh, and that's nicely returned. Well, a back heel, and oh! Well, that deserved a goal. That was a neat move, and Tim Baswani once again finding that he can't quite find the target. So close there to a second. The back heel from Rantier, and then just fending inside. Right foot drive onto the outside of the right post. The second time he's hit the woodwork. And really, South Africa playing the percentages game admirably well. They're not dominating this match by any means, but they're doing enough. It's another change required for Nigeria. The number 14 coming off, it's Iheanacho, and Olarenwaju Ayobami is coming on. Austria Vienna striker. Iheanacho doesn't look particularly keen to come off, but come off he does. A Manchester City striker. So how much can Olarenwaju boost the strike power of Nigeria, which has been somewhat lacking so far? And now it's going to cut inside. Well, was he checked? Well, the referee says no, but Kagan was causing problems there. South Africa, well, a second goal would almost certainly finish things off for the hosts. Can Nigeria come up with the craft, the invention, and the staying power here? Really, they've had for all that they've had more possession, they hadn't really forced South Africa to hang on by their fingernails. There's been no really sustained spells of pressure. Some neat approach play and very little end product from Gernot Rohr's side. Well, they have a corner. Olarenwaju putting Tebogo under pressure. Well, the substitute Lebogang Manyama concedes the throw. Halfway inside the South Africa half. Ahmed Musa will take it. Headed away. There's an infringement. Push by Ekong. Now, well, there was a hand-to-man. Awaziem Chidozie grappling there, if grappling is the right word, with Kagan Lorenzo. I rather thought that looked like an infringement on first viewing. South Africa seem to be finding more and more energy as this game goes on. The Nigerians really have to step up the pressure. There's no choice now. 15 minutes to go. Time enough for an equaliser, but they wanted to go for a winning start here. Well, that one is too high from Ndidi. Wilfred Ndidi of Leicester City. A few baffled faces in the stands. Nigeria have just not found top gear here. Well, man being stretchered off there, went down in the area just a moment ago, is Bongani. Just looking at that first effort against the woodwork from Temba Zwane in the first half. He did it again just a few minutes ago. There it is, right foot effort, cannoning back off the stanchion. Well, had this been a stalemate, Nigeria might well have said, well, we'll have to go and get points in South Africa. But, well, that one's over the top as well. From Etebo. No faulting his effort. Missed a good chance in the first half. Dragged a left foot shot wide off balance. There. On the right foot, high. So as I was about to say, a draw, and what one must imagine will be 2 wins apiece against Libya and the Seychelles would have perhaps set Nigeria up to make sure that they would at least be one of the 3 best second-placed sides. Well, the crowd really getting behind their side there. South Africa just managing to clear their lines. South Africa's defence briefly loses its shape. They survive. So a draw would be worth something. A defeat, well, who knows? And a long distance effort there. Once again from Tebogo. Always the danger, of course, that a defeat and, well, a draw, possibly, and certainly a defeat in South Africa could well lead to Nigeria coming runners-up in the group and not being one of the best 3 in the 12 groups, in which case there would be no trip to Cameroon in 2 years' time for the Super Eagles. They have not reached the heights today, and if they're going to do so, they're going to take flight late in the day. They've got 11 minutes to rescue something from this game. South Africa leading 1-0. A goal scored on 54 minutes by Tokelo, Anthony Rantier. A close-range header. Another change. Number 19 coming on for South Africa is Percy Muzitau, a midfielder from Mamelodi Sundowns. The Nigerians just cannot find the space. And now, well, oh dear, oh dear. Well, I think that is going to be the end. The South Africans have something to celebrate. Really, well, Gernot Rohr looks disgusted, as well he might. A terrible goal to concede, and a terrible time to concede it, with just 10 minutes remaining. It's 2-0 to South Africa. Just pushed it round the keeper, and a quick left foot finish. Well, the through ball from Kagan Lorenzo beating everybody, and the substitute Percy Muzitau just pushing it round the keeper and finishing it off. Slotting it past Daniel Akpeyi, who, for all that he plays for Chippa United in South Africa, you won't be feeling chipper with this scoreline. Nigeria 0, South Africa 2. South Africa will finally lay some ghosts to rest with a competitive win over Nigeria. It'll be the first time after 6 losses and 3 draws since 1992. All done and dusted surely now. The Nigerians really look decidedly unimpressed with this performance. The scoreline is unimpressive, but the performance too is unimpressive from Nigeria this evening. Well, sliding in there, looking for a third. Comes to nothing, but South Africa, it's very nearly job done. Well, Etebo, I say he's put in a lot of effort for the Nigerians in midfield, and he plays his football in Portugal with Farense. Really somewhat shapeless performance this from Nigeria. At no time have they really put South Africa under concerted pressure, certainly in this second half. 60% possession they may have had, and 5 corners in the opening 45 minutes. But all they had to show for it was 3 half-hit efforts wide, and 1 header also off target. Well, the never-ending stream of substitutions goes on. Samuel Mabunda coming on for Kagan. fought very well, in my view, having such a large number of substitutes to be able to field across the course of a modern game, but really I think it interrupts the flow of play far too much these days. For an injury, fair enough, but it's become a tactic really over the years. Here comes yet another one. Moses coming off. While Moses goes off, and that's lights out, I would suggest, on this Nigerian performance. Victor comes on from Wolfsburg. He's not going to score twice in the 4 minutes and 30 seconds that remain. Nigeria, this will be a major blow to their hopes. Well, they will be fortunate really to have these upcoming games against the likes of Libya and the Seychelles, because really those 4 games should put 12 points on the board. And then, well, who knows, a point in South Africa. That should theoretically be enough to give them one of the best 3 runner-up slots. But really, well, here we are, that missed clearance, really indicative of just the shoddy nature of this second half performance by Nigeria, as Tau once again goes after the ball. It barely come on when he scored the second goal. We are inside the last 3 minutes of normal time. Nigeria 0, South Africa 2. Rantier and Tau. 9 minutes into the second half, and with 9 minutes to go. And Nigeria will surely face a barrage of questions from the media tomorrow. This is not how the Nigerians expected to start off their AFCON 19 campaign, with a home defeat against their main rivals. For South Africa, well, the return of Baxter to the dugout really has given them a shot in the arm. And here goes, whoa, should have been 3-0. Leboyang Manyama had time to pick his spot. Instead, hoofed it over the bar. Well, Victor goes down. It'll be a free kick. Kenoro. His side are on the way to a painful defeat. Well, that 2013 crown feels a long time ago. It's a free kick. We'll have another 4 minutes. Ekobo's effort is deflected. It will go out for a corner. Of course, there was, albeit going back some time now, a little bit of ill feeling between these two sides. Nigeria boycotted the Africa Cup of Nations a couple of decades ago in South Africa on security fears. That one takes a deflection from Manyama. It was General Sani Abacha who was in charge at the time when political decision was made to keep Nigeria out of that '96 tournament. Led to a ramping down of diplomatic relations, I seem to recall. Of course, South Africa took full advantage of that particular absence by going on to win the trophy for the first time. Well, the 90 minutes are up, but we have an extra 4 on the clock. I rather feel that will merely prolong the agony for the crowd here in Uyo. That's a good catch for Itumeleng. At no time of the South African defence really had to put their collective shoulder to the wheel under sustained pressure. They've just kept their heads throughout and increasingly gone on the attack. Rewarded for that policy with the opening goal on 54 minutes. From Rantje, and then Tau's clincher just 9 minutes or so from the end. So it's going to be a winning start for South Africa. Stuart Baxter will be a happy man. Fairly undemonstrative throughout in the dugout. Occasionally venturing out onto the touchline as well. And the Tunisian referee, Youssef Esrairi, says that will do.
So the final 2-0, and in somewhat convincing fashion on the scoreboard. Tokelo Rantje, the Gensler Belihi man, with the opening goal. Our man of the match, brought to you by Ford. Go further. And South Africa opening up in their quest for the 2019 AFCON finals with a win on the road in Nigeria.